your windows. Lock your doors. Keep your loved ones near. Time is running out. It's here for fear.
Hi, we're Ear for Fear, and I'm Donovan.
And I'm Rick.
And this is the podcast where we talk about scary movies or movies trying to be scary.
Today we are going to be chatting about 1994's In the Mouth of Madness, directed by my favorite movie director, Mr. John Carpenter. Let's before we jump into it, let's do a quick synopsis. With the disappearance of a hack horror writer, Sutter Cane, all hell is breaking loose. Cane has a strange knack for description that seems to bring his evil creations to life. Insurance investigator John Trent is sent to investigate Cane's mysterious disappearance and ends up in a quiet little East Coast town called Hobbs End. The fact that this town exists as a figment of Cane's twisted imagination is only the beginning of Trent's problems, as John quickly realizes that Sutter Cane has unleashed a powerful evil force in Hobbs End and is changing the reality and perception of those who read his novels. So, what'd you think, Donovan? You've seen this before, right?
Yeah, I remember liking this movie when I watched it a long time ago. This is another one of those movies where I saw it as a kid, and it just kind of got warped in my head. For whatever reason, I thought Sam Neill's character was the writer too. That somehow got like mixed in there somehow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this entire time I was like, wait, isn't there going to be a twist at the end where Sam Neill was also the writer? But like the twist is, he's a creation of Sutter Cane's.
Yes.
I think it's interesting that both in the movie and in your description, like Sutter Cane, who's, obviously like this like combination of like Stephen King and like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
He's like described as like a hackneyed writer, like he's a hack. But the guy sold over 1 billion books.
I know.
Like he has to, it's not just like, oh yeah, this guy, people like his books. Like there must be some sort of critical merit. There's like something going on there where it's not just a hack anymore.
Is it because he's classified as horror, so people just call him hack because, well, horror is not it's not a legitimate,
It's like that joke in Seinfeld where Seinfeld and Costanza are working on their TV show and they're like saying they're TV writers and everyone keeps laughing at them. I think that's what, being a hoarder right in the 80s must have been like, just like purely based on this movie.
Yeah, maybe they just, they're looked down upon, and that's why people say hack. I mean, but I think people respect like a Dean Koontz or a Stephen King or like you said, H.P. Lovecraft or something like that. I think there's a respect. I mean, there's probably less of them that people respect than, I'm sure there's a lot more than what we're talking about, but
I think this just goes into like the, ideas of like just genres as a whole. People have a very specific idea of what a genre is. And they typically, as an example, will go through like the worst films they've seen in that particular genre and use those as examples of why the genre is terrible. And I think horror had that for a very, very long time. I don't know when that change started to happen, but people these days definitely respect horror as a genre far more, especially when you have like, at least, the past few years, movies like Hereditary that follows, movies that are actually trying to say something along with the scares.
Yeah, I would almost say you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot more credibility or respect for horror writers. I forgot to mention Clive Barker's another really good one as well. But I think, like something like those romance, those love romance, I would almost, those to me seem more hacky, than say horror
Right.
novels or books.
And that could be a failing on your part there could be tons of
Absolutely.
great examples in that genre where there's like plenty of good writing. But
True.
anyway, that's the world this movie takes place in. Sutter Cane is a hack. A lot of people love his books, and they're selling like hotcakes. We'll find out later in this movie that part of the reason that's the case is because if you're familiar with Lovecraftian monsters, the old ones, which I think is a very Lovecraftian idea, where there's just like these beings, these unimaginable horrors
Yeah.
that have some sort of like influence on regular humans. So the old ones in this story are kind of influencing the human world or our actual universe through Sutter Kane's writing. But in this movie, these guys have been sort of locked away, and we'll just say like another dimension. And so they're trying to get into our world again. That's kind of like the backdrop for what's going on within this film.
Yeah.
Right. And the old ones are able to influence Sutter Cane in a way that kind of makes him God, because his stories are actually happening.
Yeah, they're coming alive.
Right.
Basically.
That even includes full towns and people.
Like they call like an epidemic is essentially what they called this. An epidemic.
Right.
Everyone is drinking the Kool-Aid on this thing. Is it, I know this again, this is a coincidence, but isn't it funny? Last week we did House, which followed a horror writer, and now we're doing In the Mouth of Madness that follows a horror writer. Again, coincidental, it wasn't planned, but I like finding little similarities when we do something like that. We did that with The Changeling and The Others. It just was two movies we randomly picked, and they had a lot of stuff in common.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works.
It is
definitely not. I mean, even some of the names we seeing this movie in that other movie are kind of similar, like Cobb as the writer, and then we've got Hobbs End in this movie.
Yeah. So did you like the movie? I mean, you saw it before. Did you like it more or less the same as previously when you viewed it?
I kind of like low key loved this movie, or at least I love everything it's trying to do. I'm a huge fan of Lovecraftian stories, even though I don't have too much experience with them. Whenever I see one, I'm always interested by the ideas being presented. And I just really love this idea of this man's entire existence only exists because he's a fictional character. He was brought into the world by a writer, and it's him trying to sort of grapple with that fact as he's trying to prove it's also all fake. So there's like this very interesting question of, what is real, what isn't real? How do we distinguish the two, and does it even matter as long as we're able to perceive it anyway? Like, this movie's kind of doing some pretty heavy stuff wrapped around in like this horror movie. And I think the writing's really solid. I think Sam Neill is like amazing in this.
He's really good.
And then of course, John Carpenter kind of kills it on the writing, directing, and his music's okay.
Yeah, the music doesn't stand out like it does in previous films.
No.
And I would almost argue that this is probably his last good movie. Vampires was pretty good. I think that was later. I want to say that was like 98 or something with James. Is it James Woods? James Woods?
I wouldn't know.
He doesn't do a lot of stuff these days, but I think it's James Woods. But Vampires wasn't bad. I mean, it was cool. It had some good stuff going on. I would argue that's probably his last good movie. After In the Mouth of Madness, I think he did Village of the Damned, which was not good. Then he did Escape from LA, which I wanted to love because you know me, I'm a huge fan of Snake Plissken and Escape from New York. Escape from LA was terrible. Every time I watch it, I am like thinking I'm gonna somehow maybe like it more than I originally did, and it just doesn't happen. I think he did. Oh my God, he did that terrible Ghosts of Mars. What a piece of crap that was. I'm sorry. I mean, it was terrible. And then I think in 2010 he did The Ward, and I only saw that once, but it was quite forgettable. So I would argue to say in the last, since 1994, he's done two decent movies, and he doesn't really direct anymore. I know he tours and does music with his son, but he gave us a ton of classics. From Halloween forward. So we can forgive him for those other pieces of crap. But, this is a good movie. I like this movie. I saw it when it came out in the theater in 94. Probably saw it right when it came back on DVD or VHS, whatever was happening in 1994. Watched it a few times in between, and then again watched it again recently. I liked it, but what's funny is I don't think I liked it as much as I initially liked it. So I don't know if that's just me getting older and my taste changing a little bit. I don't know.
Well, when you're watching another movie or the same movie multiple times, you have the opportunity to examine it again. Even more so because now you're able to sort of analyze all the stuff that you probably didn't on the first watch, because now you already know the plot and the characters and where everything is going. So you can kind of just look at the filmmaking. So for this movie, maybe there are just aspects of the writing, the acting, the plot itself where you're like, yeah, maybe that just doesn't work for me now.
Acting was really good. Music was a little humdrum. It was kind of boring, especially for a John Carpenter film, but it was 94. So he's not going to do the vintage, like synthesizer stuff, that's not going to happen in 94. So it was a little flat for me. I thought the acting was fine. I think the story's cool. There's some really cool stuff happening throughout the movie,
I'm not sure why it didn't all coalesce into like a cool package. I think this movie could be better. But I think as it is, I think it's a pretty good movie.
It's still a pretty good movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike the movie at all. I just don't think I liked it as much today as I did, say, in 94.
This movie works for me. The movie's pretty tight. I always love like a 90-minute horror movie. And this movie is moving the entire time. I almost feel like there's no scene wasted in this movie.
Yeah. So we know John Trent, played by Sam Neill, he's an insurance investigator. Basically, people hire him and to sniff out fraud, right? And we see that at the beginning of the movie. Really, at the very, very beginning, he's in a insane asylum, and some detective or I don't know police officer comes in, interviews him. You know what I never caught until today was they were playing music over the loudspeakers in the asylum, and it was the group, the Carpenters. And then he goes, "Oh, great, the Carpenters." And I thought that was his little stab. Maybe John Carpenter wrote that in because since he directed it, I thought maybe that was like a little ha ha ha. I don't know. I mean, I never caught that until today. So
yeah, it could be a joke on that, to do with his name, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
I don't know. I mean, why else would you play the Carpenters? Which is the same song that was in that John Cusack movie years later. What was that, Room or Seven? I forget what that. I don't know. I saw it once or twice, but it was that John Cusack movie with Samuel Jackson where he goes to he checks into that hotel, and it's supposedly no one can stay the night in this room and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, I read the short story to that not too long ago.
Yeah, I forget 17. I forget what it is. It's some number. It's not a bad movie.
The short story is pretty good.
Is it?
I don't remember what it's called either. Damn.
Yeah, like 1706 or some shit like that. But
yeah.
But they're playing the same Carpenter song in that throughout the movie. So, but anyways, so he's in the I guess Nutty Ben, the investigator, comes in, starts talking to him, telling him the story, and then of course we,
All right, that acts as the framing device for what we're going to get for the rest of the movie. There's no actual narration in this movie, just everything that takes place after that scene is his retelling of what happened to him to the officer. What's interesting is I don't think we are going to, or I don't think the movie presents anything John Trent is saying as unreliable. I think everything that's happened to him has actually happened to him. So it is kind of strange that they're starting the movie with like a frame narrative where they're putting the story from the telling of his account. Because if you did that, then you could have like a whole another layer of fuckery that the movie decides not to go with. Because the movie's already kind of like weird as is, as we're trying to, or as John Trent is trying to uncover everything that is happening around this writer Sutter Cane, which is apparently a lot. So after that opening scene, we're then introduced to John Trent, and he's really good at his job.
Yeah,
because he's able to sniff out this one guy's insurance fraud. Gets them real quick.
Which is the actor has been in a ton of Carpenter. John Carpenter loves to use the same people in his movies. That guy had been in probably 3 or 4 other John Carpenter movies.
Yeah.
I always like that actor. But yeah, sniffs him out from insurance fraud. And
then, the guy, like apparently this is the guy he's worked with before. He's like, "Hey, work for me, dude." And he's like, "No." And this is a cool scene. In the background, we've got like this guy with an axe just kind of walking towards the camera because they're sitting at a diner. So we're seeing this through the window.
across the street, that's a really cool shot. I dig shit like that. Yeah.
That's cool. And then he, this guy, I guess, "Hey, do you read Sutter Cane?"
Breaks through the window, scares the crap out of everyone that's in this, let's just call this a coffee shop or whatever this is, restaurant. And John Trent, or Sam Neill's character, he's basically sitting there, and this guy's got the axe, and he just looks mad. Like mad, and not in the sense of I'm angry, but just crazy,
I mean, he doesn't look mad at all. It does look like he's got a purpose. He definitely looks crazed, and we're not sure what's going on. John Trent certainly doesn't know what's going on, and this guy just had appeared from a bookstore that was selling a bunch of Sutter Cane novels. I forget if we're quite there yet, but I think there might be even like some sort of news broadcast going on during this scene prior or scene after, where there's like some exposition talking about Sutter Cane's stories being sold out everywhere. The new book that's coming out is breaking records, and there's just not enough books to go around. So there's almost like this movie is already laying down like this layer of mass hysteria around Sutter Cane. And now you've got like this crazed guy with an axe attacking a random person for seemingly no reason. We'll find out later that this is the agent for Sutter Cane.
Yeah.
He has read the first 6 chapters of his manuscript. He knows that Sutter Cane's writing is basically truth. Sutter Cane himself will even like call his writing the Bible. So he knows that John Trent is the one that's going to actually bring the old ones into our world, just by handling the manuscript and taking it from like this Hobbs End, which is basically in this other dimension, back into his world. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But, John Trent is the linchpin, and the agent knows that. So that's why this opening scene starts with him with the axe trying to kill John Trent. But that doesn't happen. He's shot down, and then, John Trent continues to live. And then he's eventually introduced to the Sutter Cane case, where, the publishing company is trying to hire someone to basically find the guy so they can basically get their money for some insurance reason. This is beyond me. Or just to confirm that he's alive.
Yeah, the insurance companies will take out policies on talent. Sports stars do that on themselves. They'll take out a large insurance policy just in case something should happen to them. They can collect on it. You see that a lot in college sports. Like if you're going to be the number one draft and you're still playing college, you don't want to risk injury, so you take out a super large policy that it will pay out if something should happen to you. And I have seen that happen.
So that's what's happening here.
That's what's happening. They take out a policy. They're trying to collect on it. He had disappeared for what, month or two? Was it 2 months or 2 weeks? I couldn't remember. It was
gone for some period of time.
Yeah, some period of time. No one knows where he's at. So they, they hire John Trent to locate him.
During the scene, we're introduced to Linda Stiles, who's played by Julie Carmen. She's kind of pretty good in this.
What else has she been in?
Let's find out.
Because I know I've seen her in other stuff. I just could not. I didn't look it up, and I couldn't remember. But yeah, she is really good. What is she's like the editor that's in charge of Sutter Cane's books, right? Or is that what you call it, an editor?
Yeah, she's an editor.
Yeah.
She was in Friday Night Part 2.
Oh gosh, I saw that so long ago.
NYPD Blue.
Nah, yeah. No, okay, so nothing more recent that we would have. Yeah.
No.
So they're, they hire him. Of course, he doesn't believe any of this shit. He's seen enough of fraud and lies and deceit because, this is what he does. I mean, he's really good at it. People are always out to try to, to make a buck and screw other people over. So, yeah.
So, they're basically, maybe you should read this guy's books. So he buys a bunch of his books. Yeah, I don't know if he's bought the entire collection. I'd be surprised if the entire collection is only 5 books, but he buys 5 books.
And they were $6. What like, I mean, I saw that. I mean, it was $5.99. I mean, that's a great deal, right?
For a paper book, isn't that like still the price today?
Is it really?
Maybe it's like $10.
I don't know. It just, to me, it seems so cheap, but it doesn't matter. It's just, it's something I noticed in the movie. I'm like, yeah, I would. A bestseller. I mean,
It's funny you bring that up because that last episode of Better Call Saul, and we're definitely dating the podcast now.
Mhm.
Mike Ehrmantraut is at the library buying those books, and he's like buying like 8 books for like 25 cents each or something.
yeah, like two.
So he gives the
$2.
librarian like $2. I thought that was crazy. Like he's buying Moby Dick, one of the greatest books ever written.
Was it Moby Dick? And there was Treasure Island and something
Yeah.
else. I'm like, I know, isn't that crazy?
And it's like 25 cents. Are you serious?
There's something seriously wrong about that. Yeah.
So yeah, he buys all of his books. He reads them. He starts having these weird dreams. One's in an alleyway with a cop beating up some guy.
Yeah. It
That's
looks
a
like
homeless guy. I mean, it'd be like, if you like your 80s punk type of character.
Yeah, a delinquent who's spray painting on the walls or
And
something.
it's like ICA. We're gonna find out that it's it's supposed to be I can see. That's gonna be alluded to. This whole God complex that Sutter Cane has. I mean, it's actually true. It's not just a complex, at least within the logic of the movie. He's having that. He has it like back to back, and they're a little bit different each time. One is just like a regular cop beating up a dude, and then you can only see ICA. Then the next one is like, okay, he's beating up a dude, but now like the cop is like weird, like he's almost like zombified. I think he's got weird pupils now. Or is that the agent? I don't quite remember.
No, it's the cop, and the cop,
Okay.
looks all like you said, kind of zombie-ish, monster-ish. Just
Like his skin is peeling apart.
there's
it's
a
like
lot
coming
of
off.
there's a lot of that throughout the film.
Mhm.
Eyes bleeding. Just weird stuff going on with their faces. Nothing else that seems to be happening, but definitely with their faces, and it could be as simple as you read with your eyes, and maybe it does. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of
Like my
stuff like that.
interpretation of this is like this idea of the old ones where like the horror is just so great and our human minds and bodies are just incapable of withstanding like the knowledge and presence of these things. So they like literally deteriorate our body. That's my interpretation of what's going on with the body modification or I'm sorry, transformation of the human body in this movie. Because it's not just like, their skin starts to peel, their eyes keeping growing. They also just turn into straight up monsters.
And it could be just, simply this is how Kane wrote them, and that's
Sure.
they each have a role, and their role is supposed to play out a certain way, and this is what you're seeing.
Yeah. So he has these dreams. He's reading these books. This will eventually lead him to noticing the covers, and he's been told at this point that Sutter Cane, does his own covers. And there's like these weird red lines on the covers, cuts them all out, puts them together. Turns out it's a map somewhere in New Hampshire. He's going to go to this spot. That's where he thinks Sutter Cane is. And he,
Makes for a good promotional thing if you're a a publishing company, right?
yeah, you get a nice lunchbox.
You get a nice lunchbox,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously John Trent is like, well, this seems really fishy. It's kind of my job to know this, and I'm pretty good at my job. So, the big publishing guy sends Linda Stiles along with John Trent.
I think that was Charleston. Was that Charleston Heston?
Yes.
That was. I mean, what the hell is what the hell is he doing that little bit part in this movie? Did he owe John Carpenter a favor?
I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to work with John Carpenter. Who knows?
Could be. He was just taking jobs here and there. I know he had a similar role in, I think, Any Given Sunday. It was kind of a similar small role. I don't know. Just something I noticed. I mean, we're talking about a legendary actor, and he was doing this little bit part in this horror movie. So it could have been just I don't know. Maybe he wanted to work with Carpenter. Maybe they lost. Maybe they were playing cards, and he lost a bet to John Carpenter.
Dude, I don't know. It could be anything.
But so anyway, so there they go.
They're driving on their way to this place called Hobbs End.
Yes.
There's no place on the map called Hobbs End.
With Linda Stiles,
Linda Stiles,
the editor. Yeah, the editor for the publishing company.
You know what I like about this relationship is there's no there's no romance here.
No, there
Like
tries
Linda,
to be a little bit.
But Linda
she's
Stiles like forces herself on him almost as like some reactionary thing. Like she's being compelled to do it outside of her will, or it's as a stress relief thing. But like John Trent, I was like, no, dude, get away from me. And I kind of dig that. I don't know why I dig that, but I'm into it. I think the reason I do dig that is because like romance in this story, there's no place for it. It doesn't need to be here. It wouldn't enhance the story at all.
If this was
It's just two people.
Yeah, if this was a early to mid '80s, there would have been something going on there. That was the formula back then.
Right.
You know, you'll see it in The Fog. Heck, I think you even see it in Season of the Witch, Halloween 3. It's like, okay, you got all this horror stuff going on, weird stuff, but there's always time for someone to hook up, you know?
Yeah, in this movie, it's just let's uncover the mystery of what's going on and all this bizarre shit. And that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. And that drive though, the bike, the kid on the bike, and then essentially it's the same kid but older on the bike is creepy.
Yeah,
it's really almost a little bit unsettling. And the way I took it, and I'm sure you took it the same way. At least I hope you did. Is that this is the way Sutter Cane wrote this kid, and he's just acting out whatever his role is, and his role is to ride a bike. You know, and
well, the kid at one point says he won't let me leave. Sutter Cane must have this kid in some sort of like unending loop, and it's probably gone on a billion times for him to just, you know, be a kid, next thing be an old man, and it's probably all happened off screen. And there could be some like weird time dilation stuff, because why couldn't there be? So where like this all happened like in between the first time Linda sees him and the second time Linda sees him, you know. But, you know, I like that scene because it just feels like it goes on forever. Like this road just never ends.
Yeah.
And in a way, it, you know, like the road is kind of leading to nowhere.
They're definitely lost. They can't find this Hobbs End. It's nowhere to be found. You know, when she hit this kid, old man thing, you know, did you think that was the kid's way of saying, give me, you know, put me out of my misery with this damn ever-ending cycle?
No, I didn't think that at all.
No, not at all. I kind of took it that way. Like, this is never going to end for me. How else can I change this, you know, script? No, I don't know. Just something. But doesn't the road disappear? She's driving. John is sleeping. She's driving. The road basically what disappears, and she looks out of the window, and she's in the sky, right?
Yeah, she's doing some Dorothy stuff. The car is seemingly like floating, you know, like above like thundery clouds, lightning clouds. And then she hits the tunnel. She goes through the tunnel that also just goes on forever. It's like a light show. And then when she comes out on the other side, it's not 1:30 a.m. anymore. It's like morning or daytime.
Yeah, morning.
And then they're in this, you know,
Hobbs End,
which is a fictional town.
Yeah.
But they're able to find it in the real world. And then over the next few scenes, Linda is slowly piecing together that this is Hobbs End from the story, like Hobbs End Horror or something to that effect.
Something like that.
I forget what the book was actually called, but this is a Sutter Cane novel, and everything is the same.
Everything is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is where the movie starts to get pretty good for me.
I'm digging
all this.
Yeah, this is really good. Does the small town not remind you of any small town in any Stephen King book? Because Stephen King, I think, was big on writing in back east. Like,
no, I thought it was like somewhere in Maine.
Yes, which is back east.
Whatever. I always think of Maine as like northeast, so I don't consider it as I don't know, whatever.
New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, all those, know. So I mean, totally spanks of something from Stephen King. I mean, even the name Sutter Cane sounds like Stephen King,
which is weird. I know other people have talked about this, but like Stephen King exists in this universe. So why Sutter Cane, which is also like SK, same number of syllables. It's always supposed to be based on Stephen King. Well, why does Stephen King exist here? It's just weird.
Yeah,
like whatever. So they get there. They go to the hotel. Linda only knows the hotel is there because it's in the book. And then, they meet this old lady played by, do you know her name?
No, I've never seen her.
Frances Bay.
She's been in a ton of stuff.
Who I mostly know from Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
that's basically all I know her for.
Oh, she's been in other stuff. I can't think of it offhand.
I've never known her as anything other than an old lady.
Yes, that's true. I would agree with that. I think everything I've seen her, she's been at least portrayed super old.
Yeah, she's awesome though. She's really good as she's this really hotel good. Person.
Yeah, she's really good. And in the book they describe her as almost like a creature, right? in the book. And
right. So like she's someone that chops up her husband as coleslaw, as John Trent says. But she looks very, very sweet and timid and, kind. But in like the Hobbs End horror book, like she, kills her husband
yeah,
with an axe.
with an axe.
Doesn't seem like this person could do that.
Yeah, this little old lady.
Yeah, and when we first see her, she seems that way too. So at this point, they check into the hotel. Linda's trying to convince John Trent that it's just like the book, and then she like points to the church, like, well, I mean, that's there too, along with all this other stuff. How else would I have known that? And then they go to the church, and we get some like weird scene with like the town denizens coming to the church to confront Sutter Cane to get his boy back. I think it was like Johnny Boy or something.
Johnny Boy.
And then we get this cool scene with like the door, like the doors open and Johnny is there. The door's closed, Johnny's still there, and then they do that like a few more times, and the boy's replaced with Sutter Cane.
Yeah,
which is cool.
I like
that's such a cool entrance.
I enjoy scenes like that.
It's over the top. It's pretty hype. It's just cool, and it fits within the tone of the movie. And this is our first introduction to Sutter Cane in person. And then, of course, Linda somehow already knew the mob was going to be here. And then Sutter Cane sicks all his dogs on
all the Doberman pinchers. Yeah.
Yeah. I always feel bad for Dobermans because they're always portrayed in this way.
They get a bad rap.
But like all
really
dogs are good dogs, but they go to town on these dudes.
Real quick side story. When I was a kid, I used to walk home from school every day, and I walked past this house and they had a Doberman pinscher. And that was my only experience. And that dog scared the hell out of me every single day, and so that's my only memory of Doberman pinchers, but they always seem to be portrayed in a negative way.
Yeah. Dude.
And they definitely are in this movie.
Doberman pinchers needs like a nice lawyer to get their representation, like into like good dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. They need a better lawyer. Anyway. I don't think they actually speak to Sutter Cane here, do they?
No, they do not.
Okay, can you remind me what happens next?
Well, I think they
go back to the hotel, right?
Yeah, Linda and John go back to the hotel. I think this is where, I mean, definitely weird shit is happening, and I something happens with her where
that doesn't happen quite yet.
No,
so she tries to admit to Trent that, yeah, most of this was fake. You got us. This was all promo stunts, but all this other stuff, this is really weird, and we did not plan for this. It was not Hobbs End. It wasn't all this stuff that actually happened in the book. I don't know what's going on. And then Trent doesn't believe her. He believes that that's an act. And then Linda goes to the church to confront Sutter Cane. And then we get some weird stuff.
That's right, because he goes to talk to the old John does, his character, to talk to the little old lady, and I think is this where the husband is handcuffed to her foot?
Yeah,
or his arm is handcuffed to her foot. So we start to see a little crazy stuff with this old lady. But yeah, Linda books out of there, goes to the church, and of course, then we
I love stuff with like the old man naked and. Just being chained to her foot, and it's like he could easily overpower her, like they're both old, but I mean he's probably stronger than this little old lady.
And why was she naked? Or excuse me, why was he naked? It's just because it makes for a cooler scene.
It makes for a more like disgusting image. Yeah. Like she has so much power over him that
yes, I agree.
He's just like pure dirt to her. It's so gross and disgusting, but I love it so much. Like it's also like almost entirely unexplained, but it affects you. And it works within this movie because all this movie is trying to do is unsettle you and make you question basically everything. A good way to make you question things is by putting you in situations where you just, well, what the hell's going on there? And that's perfect. That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, because we start seeing her. Obviously, we see that her. It looks like she's been up for a whole week because she got bags, and she just looks terrible. I think even John makes some sort of mention of, hey, were you up all night cleaning? This is a big hotel or something like that. What did you think about the painting behind, the painting near the check-in counter constantly changing? you know, like it looked like a couple. They were walking along like I don't know, the creek bed or the water bed, and then all of a sudden they kept changing poses, and then they were they almost looked like some of the people from They Live. You know, when you put on the sunglasses, you can see.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they were, you know, some cool creatures, you know. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, you know, we had talked about that in the past with, you know, with Phantasm, stuff like that. You know, remember in Phantasm where they're looking at the photograph, and, you know, I like little stuff like that.
I don't have too much thoughts on it. It's definitely like a weird little thing that's going on.
I don't think it probably wasn't necessary,
No,
but
it's
still
not necessary.
cool imagery, you know.
But like what it's doing is it's like putting the character in like this. It's like introducing him to like the supernatural aspects that are going on. It's making him question his reality and what's real or not. Is he imagining all this stuff happening? As the viewer, it's most likely no. But a character like John Trent, like when he's being forced to confront this very, very weird thing that he can't explain, and he thinks everything is fake. It's almost like making him confront exactly what his reality is. It's not the supernatural bullshit. It's everyone is trying to play a trick on me so they can drum up some insane publicity. But for us, it's just like this weird spooky stuff that's going on.
And he always seems to try to have a reasonable explanation for it. Oh, those are great special effects, or you guys are great actors. Like everyone is in cahoots with this thing.
Yeah, it even starts to get pretty funny at one point. Like there's a scene later on in the movie where Lydia's gone like full monster mode, and she like goes like spider walk on him, and her
Linda.
what did I say, Lydia?
I'm like, yeah, Linda.
I think
she did go all spider walk.
And he's like, oh, that's really good. Good job with that one.
Yeah, her head like twists around, and she's all contortioned, and that definitely reminded me of. It reminded me of Spider Walk, and it reminded me of some of the stuff from The Thing. Again, John Carpenter. So he, you know,
yeah, I like John Carpenter because he does this weird net. Like he'll keep like a human head on something, but he'll put it like on a neck that's too long.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, he'll like turn it upside down. It's really cool. It's very unnerving.
It is. It is, yeah.
But, you know, Linda gets that way because she goes to see Sutter Cane at that same church we were just at. She steals the car, goes to the church, she confronts him. And then we get this cool scene where she goes into the church, she goes to the door, she's a typewriter, she closes the door, goes back the way she came. There's someone typing at the typewriter, goes back, and the room is entirely different. It's like some like Silent Hill stuff where like the walls are like blood red and kind of like moving or pulsating almost.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Sutter Cane is there typing away at his typewriter, and he's typing in the manuscript for his newest book, In the Mouth of Madness. And then she talks to Sutter Cane. And he even like, he has most of the book written at this point. He shows her the book. And she just like gets beamed the knowledge into her brain, and he like asks her about what, you know, like, what do you think?
Yeah.
How do you like the ending? Can't we also see that like door holding back all the old ones right now?
Yeah.
Is that there right now? Cool.
Yeah. Almost like a big old large wooden door that seems to kind of almost push out, like someone's trying to push through. And then I forgot about the part, where she goes to hug him or something, and the other side of him is this
like Lord Voldemort type.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Me too. I didn't remember that.
No, I didn't either. And then I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and within the context of the movie, like that thing, that's like one of the old ones, and we can kind of like interpret that as one of the old ones has physically attached himself to the body of Sutter Cane, maybe to just act as an antenna or something like that. I don't know. So that he can like the old ones can communicate to Sutter Cane and, you know, let him write whatever they need to write. So, you know, when Linda sees the book, or when the book is beamed into her head, she's basically under the influence of the old ones. Her body's going to go through some weird shit. Her brain is all fucked up. You know, like Linda is going through a change. I do believe she heads back to the hotel.
I think she does. Yeah.
She's very out of it. I think at this point, Trent has already seen the hotel lady.
He may have,
or is that about to happen?
He may have seen her. Yeah. That is a cool part too.
Yeah, and we get there's a scene where, we've been alluded to that in the book Hobbs and Horror, whatever it's called, I'm sorry, that the hotel manager chopped her husband up like a bunch of coleslaw, and we get to see that.
And she's some sort of creature, right? Does she have
she has like tentacles coming out of her chest
right?
or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like huge, and she's strong enough to like keep the husband chained and just chop him apart.
And I think,
and if we, Trent sees that and he's like unnerved by it, but he still must be thinking like, oh, that's pretty good.
he's
freaking out, but he's like, he knows there's a trick to it all.
Yeah. He sticks to it though.
Yeah.
I mean, almost through this whole damn movie, he sticks to the fact that, oh no, this is all fake. This isn't real. No matter what seems to be thrown at him, he's got some sort of explanation or something for it. But I think he goes up to the bedroom, and that's where Linda is, and I think she's in the bathroom, and then I think he see the tentacles underneath the underneath the door.
That's
again,
like
this
so
is
much like The Thing.
This is so much The Thing, dude. I mean, this is vintage John Carpenter.
I love the like tentacles.
Yeah.
So he knows Linda. One of my favorite parts of the movie is about to come up. So he's basically got the car back. That's how Linda got back to the hotel. So he's access to the car, and is he trying to get like the hell out of here at this point?
I think so.
At the very least, he goes to the bar, gets some answers, talks to the Johnny Boy dad again.
Yeah.
The Johnny Boy dad kills himself. He makes a comment about, reality wasn't what it used to be. And, John Trent is still like, well, this is definitely fake. You got speakers everywhere. The special effects are crazy good. And then he tries to drive off after the guy kills himself, and there's like a mob there. My favorite scene in the movie is Linda like punches him in the face. Then he just punches her back. And then she like kind of knocks her out, gets her in the car because he still cares enough about her to save her. And then she eats the keys. She tries to make out with him. He punches her again. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
And then he takes the screwdriver, and somehow he's really good at getting, popping off the part of, in the steering wheel where you can get the car started. He does that fairly quickly.
John Trent is a man of action. He knows exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah.
The guy's good at his job. Anyway, he drives off. He ends up, does he hit? I don't know. For some reason, he crashes the car.
No, he keeps trying to get out of town, but he keeps ending up in the same.
Why does he stop at the windmill though? The windmill place.
I don't remember.
Does he see the kid in the phone booth?
The phone booth. Yeah. The old kid, the creepy one on the bike. And
And this is where like that weird Linda scene happens.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. The spider walk / something from The Thing. That's a pretty cool scene. But every time he drives, he ends up back in the same spot in the town.
Yeah.
Always seems to be in front of the town folk. They got, what do they got? Axes and pitchforks and, anything a small town would have. Right.
Yeah. It doesn't even seem like they're trying to attack him. They're just being very threatening. At some point, he's like, screw it. Tries to drive through them. Then Linda teleports or she's like in the middle of the crowd, doesn't want to hit her.
Yeah.
Other guys who care about her. He soars out of the way, crashes the car. Then he wakes up in a confessional. Then we get some cool scenes with Sutter Cane, where he's basically saying he's God. He writes the Bible. Everything he writes is true. Basically some crazy gospel stuff. But in the context of the movie, it's all real.
Yeah.
You know?
He's whatever he writes comes to life. He's their messenger.
Right. Yeah. Does he talk about the old ones here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I know at the very least in a scene, like maybe right after this one where they're like in the writing room, he definitely kind of explains all of that.
He does. Yeah.
And then he also even explains that Trent, you only exist because I wrote you into existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Trent is obviously like, well,
yeah.
Like
trying to explain that one,
Trent is like slowly losing his mind as he sort of unfurls all of this crazy stuff that's going on. And the movie does this cool thing where it doesn't actually show the John Trent's past. It's only alluded to by other characters. So he could have easily just popped into existence at some point.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's given the manuscript by
Kane.
I was going to say Kent. Yeah. By Kane. And Now, within the context of the movie, this is the old ones trying to get the book in the Mouth of Madness into the real world, so normal people can read it. There's a movie deal, so other people can just watch the movie, non-book readers. And every person that reads the book or watches the movie, if they believe it gives power to the old ones, whatever. And that's their key into getting into the real world. So Trent bringing the manuscript to the real world is a bad thing. I don't know if John Trent believes that at this point. I don't think he does.
Still don't think he does.
But he doesn't want the manuscript. This has been a huge hassle and a trouble. He just wants to get the fuck out of here. So he drives off. He goes through the tunnel. He still has the book, and then he drops it.
Being chased by all these
these
creatures.
Monsters.
Yeah, these creatures down this long hallway. He ends up falling. I think he wakes up, and then he's basically out of Hobbs End.
Right.
And this is when he sees just here's the bicycle with the little cart on the spokes, and
it's a different bicycle though.
Different bicycle, different kid.
Cards. Yeah, different
kid, so ask the kid if he's ever heard of Hobbs End. No.
I mean, the billion books have been sold. I wouldn't be surprised if the kid maybe had some idea what Hobbs End was. But yeah, he knows he's back in the real world.
Yeah.
Right. No Hobbs End exists in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
He has the manuscript though. Drops it. I love the fact that he just drops it, like, screw this, I don't want to deal with it. And then he just kind of starts walking to town, gets picked up, gets taken to like the nearest diner or whatever, right?
Does he go to the diner?
I don't know.
I don't think he goes to the diner.
I think he goes to like a hotel,
up.
Motel or whatever, right?
Oh, that's right, he does.
And then he's given the manuscript in some way.
Yeah, he's staying in some Fleabag whatever motel. He goes to buy a newspaper. And the kid at the front goes, "Oh, Mr. Trent, you have a package." And then, of course, he opens it up. It's the book. He grabs the kid. Who the hell brought this? The kid doesn't know because he wasn't there. It was like the father who got it. And so he goes to burn it up in the sink inside the room.
Yeah, he does a good job of it too. It's destroyed.
Yeah,
gone.
Well,
and then he goes to the publishing CEO guy.
Yep.
Charleston Heston.
Yeah.
And then, he explains the full story, except Linda Stiles doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He was given the manuscript months ago.
I mean, like 6 months or something.
The movie's coming out next month. The book's been on the shelves for a long time. It's sold a ton of copies.
Shit ton, yeah.
And then, so there's like this huge time dilation that's happened. Trent's already delivered the manuscript, apparently. The book's on the shelves, like basically the apocalypse is coming.
Yeah, mass hysteria is definitely hit.
Trent has no idea what happened. Time just disappeared for him. And then, he goes to like maybe the same bookstore we saw towards the beginning of the movie. He has an axe. He's starting to look crazy, and then he chops a random kid up. Yeah. I think as an attempt to maybe stop what's about to happen. But then he's taken to the insane asylum, and we're back at where we were at the start of the movie.
Yes.
And then all hell breaks loose.
All hell breaks loose, yeah.
Literally.
The investigator doesn't really believe any of it. Leaves shortly thereafter. I
actually almost think the investigator does believe it, because he just kind of silently walks away.
You think so? You think he believes it?
I mean, it's end times out there. And you've got this character almost have like a logical explanation, crazy as it is, for all of it.
But doesn't the doctor ask him, he asks him a question. I can't remember what he asks him, but it has something to do with, the books or something. And he just kind of gives him
the doctor asks him if he's read any of Cain's works.
Yeah.
And the investigator doesn't say anything.
Nothing, just kind of walks off.
Yeah.
We know, I think lights go out. There's, something definitely is happening inside the hospital. We don't really see it. Does the door open? And
the door is like banged up pretty good, and so he's able to just leave.
Yeah, leaves. It looks like there's absolutely no one inside this hospital, or this asylum, whatever. And paper is everywhere.
Yep.
He leaves, right?
Yep.
He goes into town and walks past a movie theater that happens to be playing In the Mouth of Madness and decides to go in and grab himself a tub of popcorn.
Well, there's also on the poster Linda Stiles' his name, John Trent. You know, it's his likeness on the poster.
Yeah.
So,
True.
you know, it's.
I didn't see the names. Did it say?
Yeah, it did.
The names. I mean, definitely the likeness was him, but I didn't see the names.
No, John Trent, Linda Stiles
that's
were there.
funny. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, and then he sees the movie and he sees our movie. And then he, you know, what other conclusion is there other than he was, you know, part of this fiction?
Yeah.
You know, and then he just laughs like a maniac. Who knows what that means? Maybe he's just laughing at the absurdity of it all, the truth of it.
That he's the only sane person in this whole you know universe.
Right. He might be the only person who knows exactly what's going on besides like Sutter Cane, who we know is now with the old ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I kind of love
or
what
this
movie's doing.
Or this is still just the character that it has been written, and this is what he was supposed to do. I don't know.
See, I'm curious, you know, if there was an In the Mouth of Madness 2, you know, is there any sort of more story being told from the perspective of Kane for John Trent? Or is now John Trent his own person? Is he free to do whatever he wants? You know, I think that's like an interesting question.
Yeah.
Or does he just stop existing just like Linda Stiles? You know,
probably the latter. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that question very interesting because reality is only what you make of it, like the movie says. And here John Trent is being faced with the fact that he is a fictional character, but he seems to be existing anyway. So what does that mean for your own reality? It's still true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if you know, your universe is deterministic, it still exists. So, you know, the manuscript, as far as we know, only goes as far as the movie goes. So does John Trent stop existing when the movie ends and the credits start to play? Or does he exist past that? Does it matter?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like the movie's doing like kind of almost in a roundabout way, asking these metaphysical questions about just the nature of being. And, you know, I had a good time trying to answer those questions. Answers I don't know, but thank you for making me ask them. Yeah, so I like this movie quite a bit. And I can understand why people wouldn't like this movie. But I think even if you're watching this movie for just one performance, Sam Neill kills it. He's hilarious. He plays up the madness really, really well.
Yeah. Oh, he does. He's really good in it. And, you know, I mean, you know, if anything, if you're not a fan of Sam Neill, then, and if you're a fan of John Carpenter, then, you know, I mean, you're not going to be disappointed. It's a good John Carpenter movie. It's not, you know, it's not his best, but it's still a very good, you know, flick, you know? So yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are a fan of John Carpenter. And I know there's a lot of people out there, that are. I say this is a must watch. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. What about, you know, I mean, I know you like this, so I know you would recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should absolutely watch this movie. There's not a lot of good Lovecraftian movies out there. I think this is one of them. So if you're at all a fan of that type of horror, check this out.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else we missed?
I'm sure there's plenty of things we missed, but
yeah,
I talked about most of what I wanted to talk about here.
There was one line that we didn't talk about. I really liked. I liked it when I initially saw it, and I liked it again when I rewatched it. Was when Linda was going to the church, and those kids were behind her. And oh my gosh, when the girl says something like, you know, you're my mommy.
And today's mommy's day.
Today's mommy's day. That was eerie. I don't know. Other than that, I think that was all. I just had to talk about that because I loved that line. So
I love kids saying weird stuff.
I do too.
It's so creepy.
And they were already looking creepy already. So, you know, at night in front of an old church. Yeah. But all right, man. Well, I guess that's going to do it. Nothing else? No. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for joining us and listening. Next time, I think we're going to be talking about the classic. We're finally going to be doing a classic, which is 1973's The Exorcist. We're going to be doing that with Darren and Shaylee Lindsay. They're going to be our guests, and I look forward to talking about that one because that is my ultimate. That's to me it's the greatest horror movie I think that that exists. To me, it's almost an absolute perfect movie. So I'm eager and excited to talk about that one. So come back and give us a listen. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us at both Twitter and Instagram at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can purchase merch and stay up to date on current episodes as well as news and events. We hope you come back and get an earful. See you soon.